FEMA on the ground in Moss Point, the latest on tornado disaster recovery efforts there. Changes coming to the Mississippi Coast Coliseum, including going cashless. And Mississippi Aquarium expands with the opening of Changing Tides.
Engaging, enlightening, informative. This is WLOX News This Week.
Well, hello everybody. Thanks for joining me this morning. I'm Dave Elliott. We start with federal assistance for tornado survivors in Moss Point. FEMA Media Relations Specialist Nate Custer and SBA Media Relations Specialist Sally Graham right here, right now, with everything people need to know about getting disaster recovery help in the city of Moss Point. Thanks to both of you for joining us, and we appreciate it. We're good to see the federal government on the ground lending assistance. Nate, let's start with you. Is it too early to give us some data as to the number of people who have been affected and the number of people who are already navigating the system?
I can tell you, Dave, that about 1,000 people have now registered, and well over $1 million is already in the hands of these folks who had damages of one type or another from these tornadoes. The registration is continuing. It's going to go into early October. If people haven't registered, we need to hear from them. That starts the process when they register with FEMA.
I'm a little surprised. You say $1 million is already in the pipeline?
That's already been approved.
Yeah, that's more than I would have imagined. Are we talking about online, on phone, in person? Everything is available to people with whatever they might be comfortable with in terms of dealing with the government?
That is on the phone, 800-621-3362, online at disasterassistance.gov. If you have the app capability on your phone, there is a FEMA app you can use. Or you can go in person to our Disaster Recovery Center, which is at the Riverfront Community Center, 4400 Denny Avenue in Moss Point. That's a facility where you can register there, but if you've already registered, but you're a little perplexed maybe by some of the aspects of trying to apply with FEMA and what you need to do, you can go there, and we call it one-stop shopping. You can get face-to-face help sitting on the other side of the table.
Well, I'm sure people appreciate that. And I just want to mention, because of the Labor Day holiday, both FEMA and the SBA office closed on Sunday and Monday, but back in business on Tuesday. Sally, we'll get to you in a minute, I promise, but Nate, I want to continue along these lines. We're talking about uninsured losses. That's pretty clear. An uninsured loss, we know what that means. But also underinsured. That's where it gets a little vague. What is the FEMA definition on that?
That means that you had more losses than are covered in your claim. And that's underinsured. If people have insurance, that's their best line of defense. Go ahead and contact your insurance company, but also register with FEMA, because you may fall into that category of being underinsured, and FEMA may be able to fill in some of those gaps in the field of trying to get emergency home repairs underway.
Okay, so we're talking about home repairs. There have been several programs set up to help people with supplies and other things. I think it's run by the United Way over there, where people can get grants through Lowe's and Home Depot and places like that and get materials. But you're here to help people. What about things like rental assistance and that sort of thing?
We do provide rental assistance on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes there's a difficulty of finding enough available properties, rentals available. But it's something that we can do in the way of temporary housing. We also can consider lodging people in hotels for up to 18 months. That's on a temporary basis. They have to keep in touch with their FEMA contact person and report on what they may be doing, looking long range to try to recover. We are going to help them jumpstart their recovery, not really undertaking a massive repair job. Making the home maybe so they can still live in it, maybe not taking care of each room, but fixing holes in the wall.
Do you know what the average grant is kind of to people?
It's hard to say. It can usually range something less than $10,000.
Yeah, okay.
But that could give a false impression, because it can go all the way over the landscape.
Yeah, well, I've seen the damage over there in person. I've been on the ground. Sally, let's now talk a little bit about what is available for SBA. Now, a lot of folks imagine when they hear Small Business Administration that is specifically for businesses. And we can talk a little bit about that, because businesses can be helped. But what's available to the homeowner?
That's right. As of August 31st, SBA, Office of Disaster Resilience and Recovery, we have approved over $1 million in disaster loans for homeowners and renters in this disaster declaration.
And what kind of rates are we talking about? How does it work for somebody who's never, and there are a lot of people here who remember Katrina and other storms where SBA help may have been made available. What are the terms? What are the interest rates? How does it work? How do people benefit from it?
Homeowners and renters can have an interest rate as low as 2.5%. Businesses as low as 4%, and a private nonprofit as low as 2.375%. There are incentives and automatic payment deferment for 12 months, no interest for the first 12 months, no fee to apply, no obligation to take the loan if approved, and you can put it on hold for 6 months to determine whether you're negotiating with your insurance and looking at other ways to repair and replace
I have to
your
say, as I
real
said
estate.
to Nate, you're telling me there's already $1 million in Moss Point in the SBA pipeline?
This is
Oh, this is bigger.
491,000
In
approved
Jackson
for
County.
Jackson County.
You're talking about like Jasper
514
County.
for Jasper
Yeah,
County.
up in Jasper County, so it's almost $500,000 over in Moss Point. Nate, a lot of people here who went through Katrina 18 years ago, and we just had the anniversary this week, they remember dealing with FEMA, and they didn't have pleasant experiences with FEMA. So has DHS and FEMA kind of streamlined the system a little bit more? And has it gotten better? Is it easier?
It's much better. We moved so far ahead from those days of Katrina that it's working very well. It's doing what it intended to do to help people who are hit by these disasters. Some of them may not have insurance. Just getting back on their feet, so to speak. Even things like working with the states with disaster unemployment insurance. Crisis counseling is something we provide because of the traumatic experience some of these folks have been through. So we've got a lot of things working for the folks.
And really one last question, Nate, and I guess this would apply to you too, Sally, with the SBA. Is there a term for your physical presence here on the coast? I mean, are you going to be here for as long as it takes? Are you going to be here for 30 days, 45 days, 60 days?
It's open-ended. As long as it takes is a good way to describe it. Now, we will have a registration deadline coming up in early October. That's a 60-day period in which people can sign up with FEMA. But beyond that, we'll be following up on those cases and working with folks, working with local task forces on a whole recovery program.
All righty, FEMA and SBA helping our friends and neighbors over in Moss Point, closed Sunday, Monday for the Labor Day holiday, but back in business on Tuesday. Thanks to both of you for being with us, and I hope we can touch base with both of you again in the future. Next, changes coming to the Mississippi Coast Coliseum. Hear what you'll need to know before heading to your next event.